Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this first session. I'm very pleased to open the stage for starting the presentation of the results of our program, Cease to Grow. And so this will be lasting over the next 2 days. And because this program has been a great success, we will even launch tomorrow the next step of this project, which will be the EdgeTech Accelerator. So to introduce the session, I'm here today with 3 of the partners of this Interreg project that we have started now 4 years ago. So I will first let Matthieu introduce himself.
Thank you. My name is Matthieu ARENDSE. I'm working as a policy advisor or innovation advisor for TANTE LOUISE, which is an end-user organization in the southern of the Netherlands. We do have about 16 facilities, nursing homes, care homes, and other elderly-related forms of care. And we are a partner in the Cease to Grow project.
Thank you, Matthieu. And so we'll be here as well with Vicky. So Vicky, can you tell us more about you and about LICALAB?
Hi, everybody. I'm Vicky van der AUWERA. I'm the operations manager of LICALAB, which is short for Living and Care Lab. LICALAB is a living lab situated in the north of Belgium, in the south of the province of Antwerp, I mean. And we are integrated as a research group within the Thomas More University of Applied Sciences. Since 2012, we are operating our living lab, and up until now we have like more than 1,000 end users integrated in our panel database and more than 600 care experts or care organizations. And amongst those end users, there are a lot of elderly people, so more than half of them are elderly people.
Thank you, Vicky. And then we are also here with Natasha from the CIC.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha van Riet. I work as a project manager at the Care Innovation Center. That's also a living lab like LICALAB, but then in the southwestern part of the Netherlands, very close to TANTE LOUISE as well. And our aim is to facilitate in accelerating healthcare innovations in our region, so especially for the healthcare organizations in the southwestern part of Brabant, the Netherlands.
Thank you, Natasha. So let me tell you a bit more about the Cease to Grow project and the 4 years of collaboration that we have engaged into all together. So first of all, Cease to Grow is an Interreg program, so it's a partnership, and we've been working as 9 different partners from 4 countries on this project. So myself, I'm managing a Clubster NSL, which is a cluster in northern part of France, gathering companies in the healthcare field who were willing to test and develop their innovation abroad for healthy aging. To do this, we've been working with our colleagues AUWERA Santé, and in France as well, another partner is La Vie Active, which is managing a set of different care homes in the northern part of France and has been engaged on this project as well. We also had partners from the UK, so Alia and Anglia Ruskin University. Our Belgian colleague, LICALAB, has been engaged for especially the living lab activities. And then we had partners as well from the Netherlands, Smart Homes, TANTE LOUISE, and the Care Innovation Center, the CIC. And all the partners have been supporting us in this project over the last 4 years. So why did we started this project at the beginning is that we all believe that there is a need for innovation to better support a healthy aging of the European population. But what we see on a day-to-day basis is that companies that develop innovation are always willing to be able to test a bit more their innovation with the end users to be able to well adapt the project. And it's not always easy for them to go abroad with their innovation. So the purpose for us was to help develop collaborative innovation on a cross-border basis to allow these innovations to support more people in different countries. So to do this, we've been conducting 3 main activities in the project. The main one was to better understand the opportunities of silver economy with our European neighbors, co-create and test innovation in silver economy, living the Living Lab methodology, and to better understand and then how we need to tune this methodology to the specific aspect of aging, and how this type of exercise can help companies go abroad. And the last part was to better define the economic models and financial models that are adapted to the silver economy to make sure that these innovation, if they are suitable and answer a specific needs of the population, could last and really make a real business model. So just to get back to what we have achieved, when we analyzed the opportunities in the silver economy, this allowed us to develop a certain set of tools that now are available on the web page of the project. So we've mapped, we've better understand the market, we've mapped the needs of the silver economy actors. We've developed a full set of tools of a standard route to market, let's say, of innovations for the silver economy, and developed as well a strategic guide more for the stakeholders to better understand what silver economy can bring and how to develop it on the different territories. And you can find as well an interactive map of the silver economy actors that are active in our 4 regions. And finally, will be presented tomorrow, kind of the output of this full work, a European network on the silver economy that we have developed together, which is EdgeTech Accelerator. It's been important as well for us to better understand how to adapt the economic model, the business model, to the specific needs of the silver economy. So again, we've developed a certain set of tools and reports that can help the stakeholders better understand the scope. So what are the economic benefits of investing and innovating in the field of silver economy? There is a whole set as well of innovation that relate to housing and how to invest in sustainable solutions to adapt the housing for dependent and independent seniors. And finally, how to develop an accelerator and how to make it sustainable on the longer term. Now we'll focus a bit more on the presentation on the last aspect of the project, which was to allow co-creative and testing innovation in different countries from different companies using the Living Lab methodology. This part has been especially exciting for all of us because basically what we have observed, what was totally confirming the project, there is a need for this innovation to be co-developed together with the end user, and there is a need to help the companies co-create, understand, and better know how to involve the users in the specific countries. So this has been a very active part to develop a network of living labs and better share good practices to run this living lab test and involve the end users. So the type of services that we have proposed for the Living Lab methodology is 4 different services. The first one is to help the companies explore and better understand the needs of the target population and how it can be sometimes a little different from one country to the other. The second one was really to be able to test with the end user some of the innovation and perform some real life testing. So how do you design your test and how do you run it over a certain period of time with some partners to validate the value of the innovation? And the last one was to develop the adequate business model, identifying early adopters and better understanding how to better fit the product to the market. So in the end, over the 4 years of the project, we have received, first of all, 163 applications. So there is a demand from the companies to benefit from this kind of support and services. And 34 of these companies have been supported. Many of them received several services. So at the end, it's 133 cross-border services that have been delivered during this project. Now let's jump into concrete feedback of this project. I will let the floor to Matthieu, and Matthieu, tell us more about your experience at Tante Louise during this project and what you have learned over these 4 years.
Yes, thank you, Anne-Charlotte, for inviting me on this scene. At Tante Louise, we take part as a partner, like I mentioned, in about in between 10 and 15 different companies and on several items within our organization. As said, we do have a nursing home with several locations and all several types of diagnosis. So both dementia or rehabilitation or all types of the variety of type of care, living independently for persons, for example, who are having shortly a period of rehabilitation, but also a lot of intramural clients, which in our facilities do have several ways of living, and also several teams of professionals be involved with testing during the C2 period. In general, I will mention some items we learned about this and how we cooperate together with companies to do so. I spread it in 4 different words. And the first is information. If you're talking about testing some idea, something you want to present, it's necessary to have a clear view on what do you want to achieve, what type of expectations you have, and also in what way you will present, especially when it's an early stage. It's a good idea for an innovation, but not that clear, or it's not sometimes something is presented and it's not even a prototype, but just a good idea with some features. And necessary is to have, in Dutch we call it praatje, plaatje, daadje. It's saying a sort, you have a good story, the picture, and you have a talk, a story about what you want to achieve, and you have a picture, a plaatje, with it. How is it showing, and what can I add, and in what is intent to use? Is what do I have to do? So the act. So those 3 things: the story and the picture and the act was necessary. We do have several examples that it was really well told, and participants were invited, and after the picture and after talking about what it's meant to be and what it's in for, what is in there for me, then in the end of this, for example, a co-creation session, it become more clear. So this information in front is very valuable. Also about type of goals. It's a whole lot of different idea if you expect to have a complete feedback of all the steps of your developing, or do you have essential points you want them to think about, and you want professionals to think about this several goals. And the goals is we took during this period a lot of time about to combine the ideas from the ideas from the companies which they presented at the first stage they entered the program, and later on we developed this contract, okay, on what way you want to present and in what way you want to have your goals to achieve. So this is important to have it in front. Also in terms of methods, Anne-Charlotte also already mentioned different type of testing. You have a co-creation with several professionals or other people involved. let's sit on a room in a real room and talk to each other about what are your expectations and what are your feedback items on the things you will show. And it is a whole other way of working like a live test. And live tests, it's we do have this experience that live tests, when you're focusing on the situation itself, for example, a rehabilitation department, one of the partners has been there for 1 week to test his product. And on the other hand, if you hand over some items, or for example, a web-based application, you can hand over some devices and ask for a couple of weeks later on to dive in this product, and you have a live test period. It's necessary to have clear what is your expectation and to be aware that there are a different type of way of using your device or using your idea. And addressing the right questions is also necessary to have an idea. What do you want to know? And during this test, we already also have the experience that, for example, you're aiming at the nurses in the nursing home situation, but during the tests, you are come together with another idea that also the medical doctor or the physiotherapist is involved with this type of innovation, and it's necessary to address then in another way to another person this several questions. Let me say something about the amount of professionals. I already mentioned a whole lot of sort of professionals involved, and especially when it's not that clear enough in front what discipline will have the most benefit of it, it's reasonable to have as multiple different persons in the room in front. And in this situation, we already have multiple disciplines, for example, in the first period. And then later on, we expect also feedback from other co-workers during this field trials and also during this co-creation sessions. And it's also necessary in terms of professional. That is my personal experience is as well. The more you know and the more you dive into a product, the more you are facing, the more knowledge you are need from other professionals. So it's necessary to dedicated persons to use them in a trial, also use them in a co-creation session, because, for example, a product, you can mention some things, and in general, I can ask people some general things about a product, but to have a special idea about what is necessary for a physiotherapist or what is necessary for the actual professional nursing professional, then it's necessary to have the right persons on board. It takes some time planning, and sometimes you have to enlarge the period of testing, but it's necessary to have a valuable information from the correct professional. And in the end, we are always talking about our organization, and it's necessary to have clarity about who is the end user. In terms of professional, this could be the end user of the product, for example, an app or an application which they can combine with their normal handling and their way of giving therapy. But on the other hand, in some periods, the elderly itself is one of the end users, and it has to be necessary that they are involved with testing itself. Not only the tests itself, but also about the co-creation session with elderly. And if in some ways they can search for themselves their experiences, and sometimes it's necessary to involve family members, because not all participants, not all clients can give their opinion itself. But then, you're talking about end users and family members, it's also necessary to be aware: are you a gentle family member, which hoping for the best for your for father or mother, or are you involved with the informal caregiver, so it's another role, and you had to address this role actually. And in the end, if you have clarity on the front, then you have an open discussion on this. And my final item will be, especially for the co-creation session, is in the front you have a structured way of you want to the questions you want to have been answered, and sometimes you have to pay attention to bring up some semi-structured questions to have an idea in what directions I can think and in what way we can answer this. It's nice to have some detailed information to be to reach more than only a look and feel of the item, of only the look and feel of the pictures on the PowerPoint presentation. So in the end, it helps a lot for the companies, but also for us as an end user, and we're looking forward to help further those type of innovations within our organization.
Well, thanks, Matthieu, for this feedback. Just to get back to your final sentence, actually, after these 4 years of project, what has been the impact on the people of your organization and on the end users? Are some of them now expecting some tests and requesting some new tests, or have you seen any changes in that?
Yes. It's in such a period, about a couple of years, is valuable on this. To be clear, for example, 2.5 years ago, I had to reach out to several locations and invite people. Do you want to enter our meeting rooms for some testing, or do you want to participate? And those type of questions were sometimes, why me? Why our location? Why our team? I had to tell the story, but in the end, during this development, and they become more often invited, and more. They're like in every organization, co-workers talk to each other and share their experiences. So when there is a positive idea about entering those co-creation sessions, then we become connected to more teams, so it will become more normal to use their experience during these innovations, not only Seeds2Grow but also on other items. So spending time on innovation became a normal part of their jobs, and it helps a lot also about the understanding. We don't take only products off shelf when they are finished, but we can pay attention to developing and also in an early stage. So it became worth it for both sides, Seeds2Grow partners and as well as the co-workers within our organization.
And at the end of the day, do you remind of some examples where you have, as Tante Louise, invested in the solution that has been tested? Or did you have an experience where basically the feedback that you gave to the company made the company come with a total different solution afterwards?
Yes, both sides. We do have at least 2 or 3 products. We already have contact and sometimes just entered during Seeds2Grow, and during this testing period and developing. Later on, we have further contact, and also some of our colleagues in the region have contact with further developed product. So it helps a lot to make some steps together, or even after the Seeds2Grow project. And also an example is that 1 or 2 of the participants have a slight idea in an early stage of the TRL, and have this valuable feedback during the process, that his opinion was, okay, now I'm clear about what my expectation was before, but presenting this in a couple of co-creation sessions helps me to think in another way, because I have to think again about in what way I want to develop my product. And it was good to have this on this moment and not when the last prototype is finished and then you enter the market. So yes, both sides accelerating and think again were outcomes from the attention at Tante Louise.
Great. And are you sharing now this experience with other care homes or other institutions around, or authorities maybe?
Yes. Apart from the dissemination we are doing now and later on, for example, with the magazine and all the items at congresses, etc., we are during half in the period of the Cease to Grow project. We are in the region already having a movement. We are working together with a part of the government which is responsible for financing, and together with 11 other care organizations in the elderly, we do have this cooperation about testing and scaling up and implementation of different products. And a couple of products which were first presented in Cease to Grow have now entered this project. And it's a bit related to this program Cease to Grow, which is cross-border, but within our regions, we also spend our time to share our knowledge to avoid that everybody has to dive in the product itself. But the main goal is to learn from each and every experience, also with out of our own organization.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Matthieu, for this testimony. I suggest that we move maybe to the other side of the test. Maybe Vicky, if you can tell us a bit more about what has been the feedback and the experience from the company's point of view.
Okay, well, let me tell you that we were responsible indeed for work package 2 in this Cease to Grow project, and that means organizing all the Living Lab services to the companies. So that means that we agreed upon a way of working together with the 4 Living Labs, with the 4 cross-border Living Labs amongst our services, how we would service them to the companies and how we would use the same methodologies in doing this. And then later on, at each end of the case, let's say one product case of a company, we always performed a survey at the end, but also in the beginning when they applied to the program of Cease to Grow, we asked them what their expectations were towards the program, towards the Living Lab services, and what they expected of this support. And we saw that the way that the companies reacted on these expectations were very much depending on the technology readiness level they were in, because Cease to Grow was open for as well low TRL levels as high. That means companies that were just thinking about an idea for a new innovation, having a concept maybe, but not having a viable product yet, or not a market-ready product yet. So we had all the types of companies coming to the program. And when we asked them what they expected, of course, when you have a low TRL, you still have to explore, you still have to co-create, and you're not quite ready to live test. So that was also reflected in these expectations. And we took the same survey, we asked the same questions to all these companies. Of course, you see then, if you ask the preferred type of services, people that have low TRL, they will sure need more co-creation than market advice or route to market advice. And when you see then at the end what the top 3 of expected support services overall were, then on the first place was matchmaking between them and silver economy stakeholders. So all these stakeholders that appear in the health ecosystems of the local Living Labs. And then on the second place, you had the support to work with end users in co-creations and live test. So that's really reaching out to the end users, Living Labs having the panel, having the data of those end users that can recruit the necessary people in co-creations and live testing, which is a very time-consuming activity to do. So you see that companies really expect us to give them that support. And then on the third place, there was the knowledge about the regulatory framework and the reimbursement procedures. Those things came up as well with people that only have a vague idea or a concept in the beginning of the phase, as at the end, companies having already a market-ready product, maybe already a product in one of the regions, but that still were wondering how procedures were running in the other countries. So these were questions that were very much, services that were very much asked to the living labs. Next slide, please. So when then at the end, we also asked them, so this was still in the beginning at the phase where we started up the services, we asked them what did they wanted to achieve with the support of those cross-border living labs. And they said, yeah, we want to achieve a better understanding of the foreign markets. So for sure, this is the 3 other markets than the home market. And then identification of ambassadors, first lead users, maybe the first buyers of the product in those markets. And then the third was the go-to-market strategy for the foreign markets, also relating to those procedures in those foreign markets, of course. Okay. So at the end, when we work together with them during, sometimes we work together with them for half a year, sometimes it was for a year, but we also worked with companies for almost 2 years in this program. And when we asked them how did we perform, what they thought of our services, then 86% of the companies said that they obtained really valuable feedback on the needs of end users in the foreign markets. So this is good for us because it also relates to the expectations they had, of course. 79% obtained a better product market fit. And also 79% identified first customers, first ambassadors. So there were companies that really started having first sales, let's say, at the end of the project. And then 71% obtained feedback on the needs of the end users in the home market, because several companies still were starting up and they asked for services in their own home market, as well as in the cross-border markets. And then 71% says that they had valuable contacts in the foreign markets that could lead to partnerships and so on. Next slide, please. Then 74 obtained valuable feedback on regulations and reimbursement procedures in the foreign markets. And this was quite high in expectations. So this is also a point of attention to us that we need to take a look at this more closely for future services. And 50% could realize a strategic partnership with the care organization. So they really made a deal with the care organization to start working together in that specific market. 93% agreed that we delivered the services as agreed, because of course, in the beginning, when they applied, we agreed on the type of services and we made a service contract with those companies. So we could quite follow what they expected based on the contract. And 86% was positive about the way we communicated. So we communicated as well offline as online, and we had regular telcos with all of these companies. And 100% of the companies, which is really positive for us, recommends or would recommend our HTech accelerator to other companies. And the main point they give for this is that we really have a good knowledge of all the healthcare ecosystems in our regions, and it would take them too much time to find all those information themselves in those regions. Then when we had at the end of each project with the company, we also had a final end evaluation, and we asked them what we could, what remarks they had based upon our services, how we could improve our services. And they also mentioned this already in the survey as well, that there were some differences in the maturity or in the management of the living labs. And that is the case because we started working together 4 years ago with all organizations that have all the good intentions of building up the living labs. But some of them already were a bit more mature than the others, and they had already a panel database, let's say. But then during the years, you see them all improving, all having the same methodologies, the same panel database setup. And I think this is really, to go further with HTech Accelerator, looking at quality and criteria, this is really an important point to look at. Then we also had, each region had to deal with the COVID pandemic, of course, with the result that we could not finish all services for all companies at the end. So the companies of the last waves, of the last selections, it was really a pity that we not could work together with all the care professionals like we hoped. But they really, it was okay for them. Of course, they could follow this. It was not really a reason to be negative towards us, but it's a pity that we could not finish it all. And then we had a good remark from quite a mature company that worked quite some time with us together, and reflected a bit on the way we worked together with them, how they applied, how we selected them, and so on. And they said that it could be good for us in future to look a bit more on the business readiness level of some companies at the intake procedure, so during the selection process, because they said, okay, the products and services that come to an accelerator, are they all that viable? Did we check it enough with the potential end users or with the market enough to see if they are really worthwhile to be selected? So they thought we must be a bit more strict in some criteria to check this. And also, of course, is there a good team behind the innovation? We also saw, and that's a fact, that some of those were really small startup companies with just 1 or 2 persons, and they had quite some problems in the next steps of the development working together with us. So sometimes also some services have stopped because of the fact that the innovation stopped, or there wasn't the team anymore, so they stopped the innovation. This is also a pity, of course. So that's an advice from a mature company to really look at the team behind the innovation. And then the amount of work that Living Labs deliver. We did quite some work. We delivered quite some services, like you explained, Anne-Charlotte, in the beginning of the session. And they said, you must be a bit more selective in the type of services. Really look at what the company needs, high, low TRL. And I believe we did that later on. We had 5 waves of selections. And in the last waves, wave 4 and wave 5, I believe we became more experienced in this selection procedures and in working together with companies. So I believe we really did this already in the last waves. Okay, the next slide.
Here we go.
Then of course, for startups, there is always a problem for financing their development, financing to work together with those end users. And there was a good suggestion from the same company to work with funding groups. We could also involve them in the selection procedures. They could be a jury when we have those selection of waves, when the company is coming in. They could also look with another view towards the financial stability towards their team. So that were good options that we have to take along. But also be aware that, of course, they might already fund similar products than the ones that are presented there. So keep in mind, the ideas behind it. I think that was the last suggestion that the company made.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vicky, for this feedback. So we can hear from the company that they expect to receive a very high quality services. But on the other hand, you also mentioned that after your survey, you realized that 93% of the companies were satisfied with the services they received during Cease to Grow. From your experience, are there even some companies where the services outperform the expectations of the companies?
Yes, there are, I think, a few good examples. For instance, if I take a look at the French company LiveBloom, they came to the program, wanted some co-creation sessions and live testing in different countries. And we performed co-creation with care professionals in Belgium. So Living Lab, LICALAB did it. And they were so enthusiastic, those professionals, that they really wanted to, they were really impatient to see the product, to see the tool, to use it and to show it to their care professionals. So we organized some observation days because the company was also really looking after the way of working in those organizations, the methods that they use, other tools that they use. So voluntarily some organizations said, you have to come to us and show the product to our colleagues. So we organized it with the two organizations in our region. And then I think also for another company, for YourMeds, in a UK company, the Netherlands really worked very close together with this company, really being so flexible that we, in the beginning, we discussed about a small live test in the Netherlands, working together with one home care organization. But at the end, when the collaboration came that close, they did much more than that. They worked really close together with the sales representative of the Netherlands. They went to the pharmacies. They really looked at the best organizations to implement in the live test. So they were really flexible in the way of working.
And could you indicate, Vicky, or maybe Natasha and Matthieu, do you have any ideas of how many companies that went through the program that are now active in one of the foreign markets? So where the services did reach the purpose of having the company active in another country, selling products in another country?
Yeah, from a Belgian company, I know Enthusia. He will also be presenting in the roundtable. They have sales in France, so that's really a good starting point that came out of Cease to Grow. I don't know, Natasha, from a Dutch company?
Not a Dutch company, but a Belgian company as well. They move up. They are now doing it's still a pilot, but a big pilot with a hospital in Breda with 600 clients of the patients of the hospital will be in that pilot. So that's hopefully that will be a new business for them in the future.
And I know for the French part that some of the UK companies that went through the program now have been starting to sell in early next year their device into the French market. So we did reach some concrete success for the companies as well, indeed.
Yes.
And I think Walk as well, but maybe Matthieu knows better than me, but they also a Dutch company that went to France and we also speak to them in the roundtable later on. They also, first time for them to go abroad.
Yes, indeed. And to add to that is that to have to be part of the Cease to Grow program, to have cross-border activities, the outcome is also valuable when you are reached the moment. Okay, it's good to have another market faced and possibilities, but now I go back to my own country and stick to that in this phase of the development. That could be that is some of our partners have this experience, and it's also a nice and wise idea to have this experience, which you can't have only from the part from your own desk idea and only have a phone call within a foreign country. So that's valuable as well. And next to that, the amount of countries is also related to what type of product is it valuable to reach out to serve it, or is it an actual a thing, a device, or whatever. So that related to that, the amount of kilometers you had to travel, for example, is a thing. And one of our Dutch companies have only test phases in Belgium for this actual practical reason. So it is valuable in different ways.
And Vicky, as well, you mentioned at some point that at the beginning of the project, we have experienced actually the difference of maturity level of the different structures that were working on the project. So some are the expertise in some of the accelerating services, but others are less expertise in living lab, how to conduct a living lab test, for example. How have you seen this evolved over the course of the 4 years? What have been the key success factors to help everyone reach the right quality of services? And how much do you believe this will be a challenge for the HTech accelerator?
Yeah, I think this will keep on being a challenge for HTech Accelerator, and we also want to broaden the amount of living labs. We also want to include other regions besides these 4 regions. So you must have, I think, some set of criteria to see how living labs could handle the activities that they need to do in giving the services to the companies. Because recruiting is quite an intensive job to do for a living lab. Not everybody has a good panel database or has full-time panel managers to handle this. We really invested in this, so we have 2 full-time panel managers. We have a good large panel database, and this just helps in recruiting quite easily end users, elderly, and also care professionals. And you must invest. Part of the living labs must be invested in that kind of activity. I think all the living labs that work together with us in Cease to Grow saw that it was easier doing the recruitment in that way, and they could really look at their recruitment strategy for the future. So I know that, like Matthieu said, the way their care professionals looked at working together in this project 2.5 years ago or at the end has also completely changed. That's also because of the mindset of your living lab and the way to handle your activities, and being quite professional in delivering the services to companies is necessary, of course. So you also have to invest a part in that.
And you also mentioned so that especially when the companies were low in the TRL, then they needed to be supported more or with different type of services. But then do you see some that will need some further support in other range of services, basically? And that so maybe they have already benefited from the support of the Cease to Grow program, but some of the support they could benefit from HTech Accelerator in the future?
Yeah, I think we had, of course, a kind of a menu of services in Cease to Grow. We knew what we were capable of doing and where we had the good methods to do that. But at the end, when you have delivered these services, still the company has to bring this in their business model. So I think most of the companies still could have some extra advice in really implementing the things that they learned out of such a collaboration in their business model. So some advisors that really take companies by the hand and talk with them and follow them up. I think that would be a really good added values to the services that we delivered in this project.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Can I add to that one thing, Anne-Charlotte? Can I add one thing?
Yes, sure. Go ahead, Matthieu.
In terms of the valuable feedback in an early stage of the TRL, it's also, as a care organization, we become more mature on this. For example, I want to be sure that when I'm going to enter a nursing home department and I want to test something, it could be useful and valuable. And those first questions about good idea, but how do you want to present it, and what's the goal, and what's the pain you want to relieve, and what type of outcome will be there. Those type of questions is up to me, for example, and my colleagues in a program like Cease to Grow, to ask those questions and have them answered. And that could be the advice where a company can go back to to his office and say again, okay, I had to think over again and come with a next version. And then it's ready to enter the nursing home department. So it's valuable for testing, and I want to involve professionals only when it's valuable and not too early. And if I leave it like that, for example, no, it's not worth it yet. Go back and think again without any feedback. That's not worth it as well. So we can use our own experience in these early steps as well.
Okay, thanks, Matthieu. Let's move to Natasha. thanks to the program, you have developed a magazine. So I will stop sharing and I will let you show us what has been developed and how we can use it.
Yes, I will show you. I think you can see it now or not? Almost, share. Yeah, we've developed a magazine because we talked a lot already about what we have done and which services we delivered. We mentioned a few of the innovations already, like Walk, Move Up, etc. But also we were like at the end of the program, we've seen a lot of innovations, very promising innovations. And we were like, how can we show it to everyone? How can we inspire other care organizations or inspire other businesses about the innovations we've seen those last 4 years? So that's the reason that we made a magazine. So it's just, I think, ready in 2 weeks. We finished it 2 weeks ago. So I'm very proud of it. That's to show it to you. And also very proud of all the innovations we've seen those last 4 years that are so promising. So here you can see it's an online magazine. So the link, we can give it to you or you can find it yourself. And you can see where Cease to Grow is about. But also we selected 10 innovations and we made a bigger article about them. And we with some pictures and movies as well. So those 10 are over here. And like, for example, if you go to Move Up, which we talked about before, you can read about what's the innovation, the reason. So this is an innovation. It's about rehabilitation after knee or hip surgery. And you can see how it works. Sometimes there's a movie as well in the article, and also the good. Like over here, you can press on the button. The good thing about is that all the 10 innovations, we've contacted the companies again. So some of them were a long time ago we've been in contact with because some of them started 4 years ago. So there's also an update about it. So where are they now at the moment and how are they doing? So 10 of them are with a bigger article, but in the end, you can find all the innovations and have a look of all the innovations we've been supporting in the Cease to Grow program. So you can read about them as well and also find their website. So I think it gives a good overview about what we've done in Cease to Grow program and all the innovations we've supported.
And so who is it intended to? Who should be visiting and getting the benefit of this website?
I think it's interesting for everyone, but especially for, I think, the care organizations that are working with elderly people. So care organizations like nursing homes, but also sometimes for physiotherapists, there are innovations. So especially for organizations that have elderly people as clients, or sometimes there are innovations in there like roles that's also directly interesting for the elderly themselves.
And actually, what I liked with this site is that we also see how many and how diverse are innovations towards the silver economy. Did you share this with regional, local authorities, also to get them to understand what is the economic perspective as well to invest into silver economy innovation?
Yes, actually in the Netherlands, we are based in the province of Northern Brabant. So our province is also supporting the Cease to Grow program. And we had a meeting with them and also with some local authorities. And actually they were the ones that were very interested in all those innovations, and also for the care organizations in their region. So they asked us, can you give us an overview of all the innovations that are involved in the Cease to Grow project. So that was actually the main reason that we started this magazine. And now once we have it, we're really glad and proud of it, because it's a very easy way to show everyone what we've done the last 4 years and which innovations are on the market or almost on the market. And this is the English version I showed you. There's also a Dutch version, and we're working on the French version. So it's really easy to send it to the organizations in the different countries.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Natasha. Matthieu, you have one more thing to comment?
Well, to add, I mentioned in my term the story and the picture and the act, and this magazine gives an overview as well, because a lot of colleagues in the region and outside ask me about 1 or 2 innovation product, and or for example, you see something on the newspaper or on the website, but this overview is a clear idea that you do have a lot of directions about innovation and a lot of different products, not only from elderly with dementia or people with a hip injury, but all type of different actors, and also to have a different level of question they can ask to us as an end user, and also that there's a lot of marketing and a lot of so you can click on all those individual websites, so you have in one overview an idea about what the product will be, and also in the end what the network like Cease to Grow and Care Innovation Center can do. Not only a testing at the department in the nursing home, but also this market and this living lab facilities. So it's a good overview to have a good idea and good picture, and it's really friendly to for showing you don't have any technical background to dive in it and have a good overview. So we're really glad to use this magazine in the future.
Thank you, Matthieu. Indeed, it's a good way to see the diversity and how intensive the innovation has been, and what can it bring to the different stakeholders and to the end users and to the professionals that are targeted with this innovation. Well, actually, we are heading towards the end of introductory session. So first of all, for those who will stay and who want to know more, please keep in mind that you have concrete examples of the companies that have been experiencing services through Cease to Grow that will testimony on this afternoon at 1:30 p.m. and starting from 3:30 p.m. onwards. And tomorrow we'll tell you more about autonomy adaptation of the living space, and especially about the launch of the next steps of this project, which is the EdgeTech Accelerator. Now, I would like to thank the 3 speakers that were with me on this session. So thank you, Matthieu, Natasha, and Vicky. And maybe to finish, in one word, what have you learned thanks to Cease to Grow?
In one word, collaboration could be a useful word for me.
Cross-border is very important.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention cross-border collaboration, but also a lot of inspiration coming from silver economy, because it's a type of economy that is not that well known yet, and really also inspiration from companies and other stakeholders.
Indeed, and actually myself, I would like to add enthusiasm, because I think it was always working on great ideas to support healthy aging of people, better life. It's been a pleasure for us to lead this project together with you. We've learned to work together. We've learned a lot through this project, and we are glad to continue through the EdgeTech Accelerator. So thank you very much to you all, and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you as well.